Welcome back, guys. My name's Jeremy and this is SOuP on YouTube. In today's tutorial I'd like to discuss the ShortestPath node. It's not the latest in the latest release, but it is one prior to that, so but it hasn't been covered as yet, so I'll just show you one or two examples of how to use a tool. So to start off with, I'm just going to create a plane, and it kind of works better when you've got a bit of sub-Ds on them, so I'm just going to increase the subdivisions a little bit, say 50 by 50. The node comes in two forms, and in its basic form it's just I'm going to create it as a standalone and maybe show you some examples with Cocoon, but once you understand the standalone version you won't have any problems with Cocoon. So I'm just going to create a standalone version, and you'll notice that it creates the ShortestPath node and it creates two display component nodes so you can see the selections. So if I just make my attribute editor a little bit bigger and click on my ShortestPath node, to start off with, the mode is 1-to-1, but if we could just go to expression, this is its simplest form. I open up the script editor, and if I select some verts, so let's just go into vert selection mode, and I'm just taking a reading down here of the vertex ID of the ones I select, so 108 and 2135. My eyesight does me right, so it's 108, and if I hit the colon and then 2138, hit return, you'll see that I've got myself a little start and end vertex pair there, and the ShortestPath node is just described a selection of verts and edges. It's decided the shortest way to get to that end vert. Now if I can do another one, so if I select that one, and maybe one over here, so I've got 618, so go back into the expression field, 618 colon 250 and hit return. You'll see that it's described another set down below there, and I can keep going like that if I want to, but another way, easier way of doing this is actually using this method here of create new path by selecting two verts. So now I'm in vert mode, and if I just select that one over there and maybe one over here, it should do it automatically for me. There you go, it's created another whole lot of verts and edges for me, and it's also populated the expression field there with the vert combination. So I can do it again. I select this one and maybe one over here. It takes a wee while to compute. Maybe I need to hit return on it. Okay, for some reason it's not working, so let's try that again. Here we go. So now we've got some more pairs. If I look further down on the node here, and you'll see it intersecting, I can turn that off, and there we have our paths being cut off. They won't intersect this first path. If I swap around, maybe cut and paste it in the front here instead, you'll notice that this pair here takes priority over everything after it. I'll turn that back on. We've got further down here, we've got obstacles, so we can create an obstacle. This is just standard SOuP bounding object, so you can move this along and it creates an obstacle so that our paths will actually go around it instead, And of course you can do things like just change the shape of the obstacle to a cube, or even input geometry if we want. So that's pretty neat. Back to the shortest path node, we can turn that off. Further down here we've got max steps and max distance, so we can animate the max steps, for example, and we can have it animating along max steps, and of course we can control the distance of our paths, and I won't go beyond the max distance there. I've got 15 there, so 15 units. I'm not quite sure how it's measured because it's not 15 edges, but it might be grid 15 units on that grid. Not quite sure how that works. But if I put these back to -1 and -1. Also in here, if we can use max steps and max distance on a per set basis, so if we stick a colon in there and I think it's max steps first, we can have -1 colon and then 5 for max distance, and you'll notice that this specific path here is now only max distance of 0.5, so we can control this on a per set basis if we like. We can keep adding more values in here separated by a colon, which is quite sweet. I'll just take that away. You'll see we've got travel here as well. This is quite a cool little thing. If we can animate the max steps, it's going to travel. Looks like it's at this stage it's just a unit each. If I go to say make it 5, it's obviously just going to travel to 5 and stop. So that's what travel means. Okay, so that's the kind of the basics of the shortest path node. But where it starts getting its real power from is when we, sorry, I just ripped off my attribute editor accidentally. So when we do things like this, so I'm going to create 2 group nodes. And the first one's going to be a start group. And our second one's going to be our end group. And so if we plug this into the shortest path node, our components go into in start, and our geometry in mesh. And we just connect the mesh object into our group nodes. The end group is going to go straight into the end components in the geometry, and you won't see anything just yet because there are no values in our group. But for example, we could just create a bounding object on this one and move that down here, scale it up a little bit, and for our end we might just have you can have, say we'll make it a range, turn on range, and this will take a wee while to compute, but if we move our mode to 1-to-1, then it just matches one vert to another vert. Let's try all to all. Okay, we're not getting any action here for some reason. So vert there, it's got range on there, range is fine. I'll start. Oh, I see, I've actually got the, okay, so if we make that a pattern, and we move it over to the side here, and then we just make that a range, so I messed it up a little bit. So this is taking a little bit of time to think about it. But now we're just going to have a whole lot of group sets of verts that the shortest path node is going to calculate for us. One to one. There we go. I just had travel ticked on there. So we can animate this. Or we can flick it on travel, do the same. So we get some, starting to get some cool little animations there. We can get rid of our bounding object, make that range as well. Back to our shortest path node, we can animate that. So now we're getting some pretty cool looking effects. Take travel off. Travel seems to work better with this combination here. So you can have a play around with all these inputs here. You can change it to pattern if you like and just select a whole lot of verts that you want, or just use a bounding object in that regard. So how do we actually use this and get some benefit out of it? Well, if we just turn off those display component nodes, and I'm just going to duplicate this mesh object, move it off to the side, and we can start using some mesh operation nodes like an extrude. So if we just go extrude edge, okay, and we use the mesh from over there and put poly mesh, and then we use the out edge components into these components and then output and mesh. So some extrusion, so let's just say 0.5 on the local translate, and you'll see that we're getting some extrusion there on our edges. Just open up my screen space a little bit. Why is this so hard? Okay. So now, actually, if I turn this back on, these two back on again, so I can actually see that it's mirroring the. And let's try viewport 2 is already on, and just some screen space ambient occlusion. Turn off wireframe. Wireframe, these wireframe there. Did I turn off? No, can't see now. Okay, so now we can start animate some extrusions. Maybe you want to create a bounding object on this one as well. Scale it up. Okay, then go back to our shortest path node, turn off travel. So now we're getting some pretty nifty effects, which was always quite cool. Okay, and there's a little trick that you can do just to enhance that effect a little bit. And I can't seem to grab the side of my window. Okay, so here's another little trick that involves a couple more group nodes. And if we just grab the mesh from the beginning and go back into that group node and make sure faces are selected and all faces. And then for the second group node, if we just throw the output into the end geometry and connect our components into the end components, and here we go, faces again, all of them, but now we just want the intersection of our two selections. And now if we just grab a delete component node, we can throw that intersected faces into there, and we should have our faces disappear and just left with our extrusion. Okay. And if we want, we can just grab all our faces again. So grab all our faces. Okay. And then just hit another extrusion. Extrude face this time. Okay, and then we just add some extrusion. Say 0.2. Now we've got some depth to our faces. We can go back to our ShortestPath node and animate. We can end up hiding that one. Don't need that one anymore. Okay, and now we've got some interesting little modeling things. Might want to put a smooth in there. Okay, so now we've got more kind of like worm-like type of things. So that's probably about it in this tutorial. Take a look at the cocoon. If you are familiar with the cocoon, this won't be a problem for you. Basically, it just starts adding meshes to the edge components, just like I've done here, but it does it all for you, and you've got some control over the shape of the mesh. You can have it ballooning, or you can have it kind of ribbed, and you can also add instancing to the edge as well, so you've got a bit of variation there to play around with. So, have a play, and if you come up with some pretty cool animations, do share them on the forum. If you are having problems with it, again, just come to the forum and we'll be happy to help you. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you later. Bye.